The Orient Express-style luxury train cut through the French countryside like a silver bullet, carrying the wealthy and privileged from Paris to Monaco in exquisite comfort. Crystal chandeliers swayed gently with the train's rhythm. White-gloved attendants served champagne and caviar. Everything gleamed with old-world elegance and new-world money. In a private first-class cabin, Vincent Cross sat by the window, watching the landscape blur past while his 9-year-old daughter Lily read a book across from him. He looked exactly like what he was, a man trying to leave his past behind. 42 years old, with the kind of weathered face that spoke of violence survived rather than avoided. Dark hair starting to silver at the temples, eyes that had seen too much, tattoos peeking out from under his expensive but uncomfortable suit, the only clothes he owned that seemed appropriate for a train like this. This trip was supposed to be closure. One last journey through Europe before returning to their quiet life in Marseille. 2 years since Maria died, 2 years of grief and survival, 2 years of Vince trying to be both parents to a daughter who deserved better than a broken ex-criminal for a father. "Dad, you're doing the stare thing again," Lily said without looking up from her book. "What stare thing?" "The one where you look out the window, but you're actually thinking about Mom, and your face gets all sad and tight." Vince smiled despite himself. "When did you get so observant?" "I've always been observant. You just started noticing." Lily finally looked up, her dark eyes, Maria's eyes, studying him with uncomfortable perception. "Are you okay? Really okay?" "I'm fine, sweetheart. You say that a lot. I'm not sure I believe it anymore." Before Vince could respond, a commotion in the corridor caught his attention. Through the cabin's glass door, he saw 4 men in expensive suits moving with the kind of coordinated precision that screamed security detail. Or something worse. In the center of their formation walked a woman who made Vince's breath catch despite himself. Late 20s, strikingly beautiful, wearing a designer dress that probably cost more than his entire wardrobe. Dark hair swept up elegantly, diamond earrings catching the light. She moved with the grace of someone trained to navigate high society. But her eyes told a different story. They darted frantically, searching for something. Someone. Help. As the group passed their cabin, the woman's gaze locked onto Vince. For a moment, time seemed to slow. She saw something in him. The tattoos visible on his hand, perhaps, or the way he held himself. The way only men with violent pasts held themselves. Their eyes met. Hers were desperate, terrified, pleading. She mouthed a single word, "Help." Then they were past, the 4 men shepherding her toward the dining car, and Vince was left staring at empty corridor. "Dad?" Lily's voice was small. "That lady looked scared." "I know. Are we going to help her?" Vince thought about the tattoos hidden under his suit. The life he'd left behind when Maria died. The promise he'd made at her grave. No more violence, no more criminals, no more anything except being a good father to their daughter. "We should mind our own business," he said, the words tasting like ash. "That's not what Mom would have said." The observation hit harder than any punch Vince had ever taken. Dinner service was announced with a soft chime throughout the train. Vince had planned to order room service, avoid the crowds, maintain their low profile. But Lily insisted she wanted to see the dining car. "Like in the movies, Dad. The fancy one with the chandeliers." How could he say no? They made their way to the dining car, Vince's hand protectively on Lily's shoulder as they navigated through corridors of wealth and privilege. The dining car lived up to Lily's expectations. All Art Deco elegance, crystal glassware, and soft piano music playing from hidden speakers. The maitre d' seated them at a small table near the window. Lily's eyes went wide at the menu prices, then wider at the actual menu items. "Dad, they have escargot. That's snails." "I know what escargot is. Are we really fancy enough to eat here?" "Tonight, we're pretending to be," Vince said, managing a smile. That's when he saw her again. The woman from earlier sat 3 tables away, still surrounded by her 4-man security detail. She wore the same elegant dress, the same diamond earrings, but her makeup couldn't quite hide the bruise forming on her left wrist. The men around her were attentive in a way that was more prison guard than protective service. The largest of the 4 men, late 40s, military bearing, cold eyes, leaned close to whisper something in her ear. She flinched almost imperceptibly. Vince's hands tightened on his menu, old instincts screaming at him. This was wrong. Everything about the situation was wrong. "That's her," Lily whispered. "The scared lady. I see her. Why isn't anyone helping her?" "Because no one else sees what we see." "Then we should help." "Lily, Dad, Mom always said we help people when we can. You taught me that. Don't you still believe it?" Before Vince could answer, a commotion at the woman's table drew every eye in the dining car. She'd knocked over her water glass, deliberately, Vince realized, watching the calculated accident. In the moment of confusion, as waiters rushed over with napkins, she stood. "Excuse me," she said to her guards in a French accent. "Ladies' room." The large man, clearly the leader, nodded. "Make it quick. We have that call with your father in 15 minutes. She walked past Vince's table slowly, and in the moment when her guard's attention was on the water cleanup, she leaned down next to Vince as if steadying herself on his chair. Her whisper was so quiet only he could hear. "Help. They kidnapped me. My father is Philippe Laurent. They want something from him. Please." She straightened, continued walking, added louder, "Excuse me, so clumsy." Vince sat frozen, his mind processing what he'd just heard. Philippe Laurent, the semiconductor billionaire, one of the wealthiest men in Europe. This was his daughter, being transported by kidnappers disguised as security, in plain sight, on a luxury train where everyone assumed wealth equaled safety. Lily kicked him under the table. "Dad, do something!" The old Vince, the enforcer, the problem solver, the man who'd spent 15 years in organized crime, would have already had a plan. But that Vince died with Maria. The new Vince was supposed to be peaceful, safe, removed from danger. Except his daughter was looking at him with expectations he couldn't ignore. And a woman's desperate whisper was echoing in his head, and old instincts were screaming that if he didn't act now, someone innocent was going to die. "Stay here," Vince said, standing. "Where are you going?" "To do something really stupid." He walked toward the bathrooms, timing his arrival just as Isabelle Laurent emerged. The large man, the leader, was waiting, reaching to escort her back to the table. Vince beat him to it. "Darling." His voice carried across the dining car, loud and affectionate. "There you are. I've been looking everywhere." Every head turned, including the 4 guards. Vince walked straight to Isabelle, took her hand, kissed it with the kind of theatrical gallantry that suggested long-time intimacy. "I got confused about which car we were in," he continued, eyes locked on hers, silently begging her to play along. "You know how I get turned around on trains." Isabelle's mind worked visibly fast. She saw the lifeline he was throwing, grabbed it with both hands. "Sweetheart." She threw her arms around his neck, the embrace of a wife greeting her husband. "I told you I'd meet you for dinner. You worry too much." The large guard stepped forward. "Excuse me. Who are you?" Vince turned, and when he did, he let the old Vince show through for just a moment. The enforcer. The man who'd made grown criminals wet themselves with a single look. His smile was all teeth and threat. "I'm her husband, Vincent Cross, and you are?" "Her security detail," the guard said, but uncertainty crept into his voice. Mr. Laurent didn't mention his daughter was married. "Recent development," Vince said smoothly. 6 months ago, small ceremony, very private. My wife prefers to keep her personal life separate from her public profile. I'm sure you understand. I'll need to verify this with Mr. Laurent. By all means, call him. I'll wait." Vince pulled Isabelle closer, his body language screaming possession and protection. "Though I'm curious why my wife's security detail doesn't know about her husband. That seems like a significant oversight. almost like you're not actually her security. The threat hung in the air between them. The guard's hand drifted toward his jacket, where Vince could see the slight bulge of a concealed weapon. Vince's own hand moved casually to his belt, a subtle reminder that he wasn't unarmed either, even if his weapon was just intimidation and experience. "Gentlemen," Isabel interjected, her voice carrying aristocratic command. "This is unnecessary. Anton, this is my husband Vincent. Vincent, this is Anton Rousseau, head of my father's security." There was obviously a communication breakdown. I'm sure my father simply forgot to mention it during the briefing. Anton's jaw tightened. He clearly didn't believe a word, but challenging her in public would create a scene neither he nor his employers wanted. "Of course, Madame Cross," he said, the name dripping with skepticism. "My apologies for the confusion. Shall we return to your table?" "Actually," Vince said, still holding Isabel close, "my wife will be dining with me and my daughter, unless there's a problem with that." The standoff stretched. Anton's 3 associates shifted positions, surrounding them subtly but unmistakably. This could go violent very quickly. Then a small voice cut through the tension. "Dad? Is everything okay?" Lily appeared at Vince's side, looking up at the 4 large men with the fearless curiosity only children possessed. "Everything's fine, sweetheart," Vince said. "Just introducing myself to your new stepmother's security team." "Stepmother?" Lily's eyes went wide, then immediately narrowed with understanding. She was Maria's daughter, sharp as broken glass. "Oh, right. My new stepmother, who I definitely know about and have met before. Hi, Mom." The last word was tentative, uncertain if she was playing the role correctly. Isabel knelt smoothly, meeting Lily's eyes. "Hello, darling. I'm so sorry I haven't been around more. Work has been absolutely consuming. But I promise, we'll spend more time together." "That would be nice. Mom." Lily leaned close, whispered, "Are these the bad guys?" "Very bad," Isabel whispered back. "Cool. Dad's good at handling bad guys. He used to be one." Isabel's eyebrows raised, looking up at Vince with new understanding and calculation. Ex-criminal. That explained the tattoos, the bearing, the absolute lack of fear facing 4 armed men. "Well then," Anton said, his tone suggesting this conversation was far from over. "Enjoy your family dinner. We'll be watching, very closely." He and his men retreated to their table, but their eyes never left Vince and Isabel. "We should move," Vince said quietly. "Somewhere private, now." "Follow me," Isabel said, taking his hand, her touch electric and terrifying all at once. "I have a private cabin." They walked through the dining car, 3 unlikely allies playing a dangerous game, while 4 very real threats watched their every move. Lily whispered to Vince as they walked, "Dad, what did you just get us into?" "Honestly, sweetheart, I have absolutely no idea." Isabel's cabin was everything Vince and Lily's modest accommodation wasn't. Spacious, elegantly appointed, with a private bathroom, sitting area, and a bed that probably cost more than Vince's car. Wealth on display, safety an illusion. The moment the door closed behind them, Isabel locked it and turned to face Vince with an intensity that reminded him of prosecutors during trial. "Who are you really?" "Vincent Cross, exactly who I said. Ex-criminal. Your daughter mentioned it." Isabel's eyes scanned his visible tattoos, the ones he couldn't hide even in expensive clothes. "Marseille syndicate markings. You were an enforcer." "Was. Past tense. I've been out for 2 years." "Why did you help me?" Vince looked at Lily, who was exploring the cabin with wide-eyed wonder, touching expensive things with careful fingers. "Because my daughter asked me to, and because my wife would have been disappointed if I didn't." "Your wife?" "Dead. Cancer. 2 years ago." The word still hurt to say. "She spent her life helping people. When she died, I became selfish, closed off, only cared about Lily. But tonight, when you asked for help, I couldn't walk away. Maria wouldn't have forgiven me if I had. Isabel's expression softened. I'm sorry for your loss, and thank you for the risk you just took. Don't thank me yet. Those men, Anton and his team, they're professionals. This isn't some amateur kidnapping. Tell me everything. Isabel sank onto the couch, exhaustion and fear finally showing now that she was somewhere relatively safe. My name is Isabelle Laurent. My father, Philippe Laurent, owns Laurent Semiconductors. We manufacture microchips for everything from phones to military equipment. 3 days ago, I was leaving my office in Paris. A van pulled up. 4 men grabbed me. They said they worked for my father, that there was a security threat. I needed to come with them immediately. But they weren't your father's men, Vince said. No. They held me in a warehouse for 2 days. I heard them talking. They're waiting for my father to do something. Hand over some technology, I think. Patents, designs. I couldn't hear everything clearly. Then yesterday they put me on this train. Said we're going to Monaco, where my father will meet us to make the exchange. Did they hurt you? The question came out harder than Vince intended. Not badly. Just enough to scare me. The bruises you probably saw. She touched her wrist unconsciously. Anton, the leader, he's smart. Kept saying violence wasn't necessary if I cooperated, that my father would give them what they wanted and I'd go free. You don't believe that, Vince observed. Would you? Once they have what they want, I'm a liability, a witness. They'll kill me. Lily stopped her exploration, turned to face Isabel. That's not going to happen. My dad won't let it. Sweetheart, Vince said gently, this isn't our fight. Yes, it is, Lily interrupted with 9-year-old certainty. You already made it our fight when you pretended to be her husband. We can't just stop now. She's right, Isabel said. The moment you claimed to be my husband, you became part of this. Anton is suspicious. He's probably already trying to verify our story. When he can't, and he won't be able to because we're not actually married, he'll know something is wrong. So we need to make the story believable, Vince said, his tactical mind already working through scenarios. How long until Monaco? 8 hours. We arrive tomorrow morning. Then we have 8 hours to sell the most important con of our lives, or Anton kills all 3 of us. The weight of that statement settled over the cabin like a physical presence. Lily sat down between Vince and Isabel, looking from one to the other. So we're really doing this? Pretending to be a family? Yes, Vince said. Cool, Lily grinned. I've always wanted to be a spy. This isn't a game, Vince warned. This is life and death. You do exactly what I say when I say it. No arguments, no improvisation. Understood? Yes, sir. Lily's grin faded, replaced by the serious expression that reminded Vince painfully of Maria. His daughter understood danger better than any 9-year-old should. Learned it watching her father navigate criminal life. Learned it watching her mother die slowly. Learned it surviving in a world that didn't care about children of dead women and reformed criminals. Okay, Vince said, shifting into planning mode. We need a cover story. How we met, when we married, why it was secret. Every detail has to be perfect because Anton will test it. I'm good at improvisation, Isabel offered. I run Laurent's research division. I'm used to presenting complex ideas convincingly. This isn't a boardroom, Vince said. This is lying to people who will kill you if they catch you lying. Different skill set. Then teach me. Vince studied her. This elegant billionaire heiress in her designer dress, asking a former criminal to teach her how to con kidnappers. The situation was absurd. Also, their only chance. Fine. We start with the basics. How did we meet? They spent the next 2 hours building a false history. 6 months ago, charity event in Marseille. Isabel there for business. Vince providing security for the venue. Eyes meeting across a crowded room. Conversations turning into dinner. Dinner turning into a whirlwind romance that shocked both of them. Why keep it secret? Lily asked, fully invested in the story now. Because, Isabel said, getting into character. My father has opinions about who I should marry. Someone from our social circle. Someone who enhances the family business. A reformed criminal from Marseille doesn't exactly fit that profile. So you eloped, Vince continued. 1 month ago. Small ceremony in Corsica, just us and a few witnesses. We were planning to tell your father after this trip. But then I got kidnapped, Isabel finished. And you've been searching for me for 3 days. How did you find me? Lily asked. Vince and Isabel looked at each other, realizing they hadn't thought that part through. Anonymous tip, Vince said. Someone saw Isabel being moved, recognized her from news coverage called in. I traced the lead to this train. And you just happened to book passage on the same luxury express? Isabel said skeptically. That's convenient. I had help. Old contacts in my former organization. They owed me favors. It was plausible. Barely. But plausible enough that Anton might buy it. Might. A knock on the door froze all three of them. Madame Cross? Anton's voice muffled through the door. A word, please. Vince moved instantly, positioning himself between the door and the women. His hand went to his belt. No weapon there, but Anton didn't need to know that. She's resting, Vince called back. Come back later. I'm afraid I must insist. Mr. Laurent called. He's concerned about the unexpected development regarding his daughter's marriage. He'd like to speak with both of you. Immediately. Isabel's eyes went wide with panic. Her father. They'd have to convince her actual father that she'd secretly married a stranger. This was about to get infinitely more complicated. Give us 5 minutes, Vince said. My wife needs to make herself presentable. 3 minutes, Anton replied. Mr. Laurent is quite insistent. His footsteps retreated, but Vince knew he wouldn't go far. Oh, God, Isabel breathed. My father. He's going to know immediately. He knows everything about my life. There's no way I could have gotten married without him finding out. Unless, Lily said thoughtfully, he's been kept away from you on purpose. Miss Isabel, you said you've been held for 3 days. Has anyone let you call your father? No. They keep saying he's arranging the exchange, but I haven't actually spoken to him. So he might not even know you were kidnapped, Vince realized. Anton and his team might be pretending to be legitimate security while keeping you isolated from actual family contact. Which means, Isabel continued, understanding dawning, my father might actually believe I got married if I'm the one telling him. He'd be hurt I didn't tell him sooner, but he'd believe me. Can you sell it? Vince asked. Can you look your father in the eye, even over video, and lie about being married to me? Isabel met his gaze, and Vince saw something shift in her expression. Determination. Strength. The intelligence that had built her career was now focused entirely on survival. Yes, she said firmly, I can absolutely sell it. Then we better make this convincing, Vince said. He pulled off his jacket, rolled up his sleeves to reveal more tattoos, ran a hand through his hair to dishevel it. You've been kidnapped for 3 days. I've been frantically searching. We're both exhausted, scared, relieved to be reunited. Your father will expect emotion. Isabel understood immediately. She messed up her perfect hair, smudged her makeup slightly, made herself look like someone who'd been through hell and had just found her husband. Lily, Vince said to his daughter, you're meeting your stepmom's father for the first time. Be polite but also excited, like you're happy to finally have a mother figure. I don't have to pretend that part, Lily said quietly. I really do miss having a mom. The honesty in her voice cracked something in Vince's chest. Also in Isabel's expression. She knelt down, took Lily's hands. If we survive this, Isabel said seriously, I promise I'll do my best to be someone you can count on, even after we stop pretending. Okay? Okay, Lily agreed. A sharper knock interrupted the moment. Time's up. Mr. Laurent is waiting. They opened the door. Anton stood there with a tablet, camera already active, Philippe Laurent's face on the screen. The man looked like his daughter. Same dark eyes, same aristocratic features, but weathered by age and stress. And currently, he looked absolutely furious. Isabel, where have you been? I've been trying to reach you for 3 days. Your entire security team claimed you were in a corporate retreat with no phone access, but I know you'd never go that long without checking in. What's going on? And who is this man Anton tells me claims to be your husband? Showtime. Isabel took the tablet, and in that moment, something remarkable happened. Her expression transformed. Fear and desperation replaced by joy and relief that looked absolutely genuine. Papa! Her voice broke convincingly. Oh, thank God. I've wanted to call you so badly, but they wouldn't let me. Who wouldn't let you? Isabel, what's happening? I'll explain everything, but first... She pulled Vince into frame, wrapped her arms around him with the kind of desperate affection that suggested reunited lovers. Papa, I need you to not be angry. I need you to understand. This is Vincent Cross, my husband. Philippe Laurent's face went through several emotions rapid fire. Shock, confusion, anger, then concern as he processed his daughter's distressed state. You're what? We got married 6 weeks ago. In Corsica. I know I should have told you sooner. I know you're hurt. But I was scared. Scared you'd try to stop us because he's not from our world. He's not someone you'd choose for me. But Papa, I love him. And when those men took me... What men? Philippe's voice sharpened. Isabel, you're not making sense. Start from the beginning. Vince took over, his voice carrying the authority of someone used to command. Mr. Laurent, my name is Vincent Cross. I married your daughter because I love her. And 3 days ago, 4 men claiming to be your security team kidnapped her from her office. They've been holding her, claiming they're arranging some kind of exchange with you. I tracked her to this train, using contacts from my previous profession. I found her an hour ago. Previous profession? Philippe's eyes narrowed, studying Vince's tattoos. You're a criminal. Was. Past tense. I left that life 2 years ago when my first wife died. I'm trying to be a better man. For my daughter. He gestured for Lily to come into frame. For your daughter. Philippe's gaze softened slightly, seeing Lily. Children had that effect. And you're certain these men aren't my security? Positive, Isabel said. Papa, they've been keeping me from contacting you. They won't tell me what they want. And Anton... She glanced at the security chief standing just outside frame. He's their leader. Anton's face was stone, but Vince saw the micro-expression. Anger, fear, calculation. The man knew his operation was unraveling. Philippe's expression hardened with the kind of cold fury that came from having infinite resources and no tolerance for threats to his family. Anton Rousseau. If what my daughter says is true, you've made a catastrophic miscalculation. I will destroy you and everyone you've ever cared about. Mr. Laurent, Anton said, his voice measured. Your daughter is confused. Traumatized, perhaps. I am your head of security. I've been protecting her according to your protocols. Then why didn't I know about her marriage? Philippe challenged. My security chief should know every detail of my daughter's life. Yet somehow you missed that she got married 6 weeks ago. Because, Isabel interjected, I specifically kept it from your security. I knew you'd try to stop the wedding if you found out beforehand. I wanted one thing in my life that was mine, Papa. Just mine. Can't you understand that? The emotion in her voice was achingly real. Perhaps because it was real. Perhaps Isabel Laurent really did want something in her life that wasn't controlled by her father's wealth and security protocols. Philippe was silent for a long moment, studying his daughter, studying Vince, processing information with the kind of analytical mind that had built a semiconductor empire. Where are you now exactly? Train from Paris to Monaco, Vince said. Arriving tomorrow morning. We need extraction the moment we reach the station. These men, if they really are kidnappers, they're not going to let us walk away easily. I'll have Interpol meet the train, Philippe said. Real security, federal agents, and Mr. Cross. Yes, sir? If you're lying about any of this, If you're part of some elaborate scheme to extort money from me using my daughter, I will make you disappear so thoroughly that no one will ever find enough of you to identify. Do we understand each other?" "Perfectly," Vince said. "But I'm not lying. I'm just trying to keep your daughter alive long enough to reach Monaco." "Then keep her alive. And Mr. Cross, welcome to the family. We'll discuss your criminal past later." The tablet went dark. Anton stood in the doorway, his expression murderous. For a moment, Vince thought the man might simply shoot all three of them right there. Instead, Anton smiled, cold, predatory. "Clever. Very clever. But Mr. Laurent isn't the only person in this equation. And Monaco is still 8 hours away. A lot can happen in 8 hours." He left, closing the door behind him. The moment he was gone, Isabel collapsed onto the couch, shaking. "Oh God. We actually pulled it off. My father believed us." "For now," Vince said, already moving to barricade the door with furniture. "But Anton's right. 8 hours is a long time. He's going to try something before we reach Monaco." "What do we do?" Lily asked. "We survive," Vince said grimly. "Whatever it takes." The train rattled through the French countryside as night fell, transforming the elegant express into something more sinister. Shadows lengthened. The corridors grew quiet as wealthy passengers retired to their cabins. And somewhere in that darkness, Anton Rousseau was planning how to eliminate 3 witnesses before morning. Vince had rearranged Isabel's cabin into something resembling a defensible position. Furniture against the door. The window, they were on the 3rd car, too high to jump safely even if escape was an option. One exit, easily watched. "This is bad," he muttered, assessing their situation for the 100th time. "Define bad," Isabel said. She'd changed into more practical clothes, jeans and a sweater borrowed from her luggage, diamond earrings replaced with simple studs, already transforming from heiress to survivor. "We're trapped in a metal tube traveling at high speed with 4 professional kidnappers who now know their operation is compromised. Anton can't let us reach Monaco alive. We're witnesses. But he also can't kill us, obviously, or the train staff will notice. Which means he'll make it look like an accident," Isabel finished. "Or wait until we're off the train. Or both." Vince paced like a caged animal. Every instinct screamed at him to run, to fight, to do something other than wait passively for Anton's next move. But with Lily here, with a civilian to protect, his options were impossibly limited. Lily sat on the bed, watching adults try not to panic. "Dad, you're doing the overthinking thing." "I'm doing the trying to keep us alive thing." "Yeah, but you're forgetting something." "What's that, sweetheart?" "You're Vincent Cross." Lily said it like it explained everything. "You survived 15 years in the Marseille syndicate. You survived Mom dying. You survived being a single parent to me, which is basically the hardest job in the world. These guys?" She gestured vaguely toward the door. "They're not scary compared to all that." Vince felt something loosen in his chest. His 9-year-old daughter, giving him a pep talk about facing kidnappers. Maria would have laughed and cried simultaneously. "When did you get so wise?" he asked. "I've always been wise. You just started listening." Lily grinned. "Also, I've been thinking. These men need Miss Isabel alive until her father does whatever they want, right? So we're probably safe until tomorrow morning at least." "Unless they decide I'm too much trouble," Vince said. "They could kill me and still control Isabel." "Then we make sure you're more useful alive than dead," Isabel said, her expression calculating. "They think you're an ex-criminal with connections. We use that. Make them believe you're valuable to them somehow." "How?" "I don't know yet, but I'm a genius at complex problem-solving. Give me time to think." They sat in tense silence, 3 people from completely different worlds, thrown together by circumstance and desperation. Outside, France blurred past in darkness. Inside, they waited for the next move in a deadly game. Around midnight, Lily finally fell asleep, curled up on the cabin's bed with her head on a pillow. Exhaustion had overwhelmed even her brave front. Vince sat on the floor by the door, positioning himself as the first line of defense if anyone tried to breach. Isabel sat nearby, close enough to talk quietly without waking Lily. "Tell me about your wife," Isabel said softly. "Maria, you said she'd want you to help people. That's not really a conversation for... We're trapped on a train with kidnappers planning to kill us. I think normal conversation rules don't apply. Please. I want to know about the woman who turned a criminal into whatever you are now." Vince was quiet for a long moment. Then, Maria was a social worker. She helped at-risk kids navigate the system, find homes, avoid the kind of life I'd lived. We met when she was trying to help one of my organization's low-level dealers get clean. She looked at me, this enforcer, this criminal, and somehow saw someone worth saving. She sounds extraordinary. She was. She made me want to be better. Not for her, exactly, but for the version of myself she believed existed. We got married, had Lily. I was still in the life. Couldn't just leave. The organization doesn't work that way. But I tried to keep that world separate from my family. Did it work? For a while. Then Maria got sick. Stage 4 pancreatic cancer. 12 months from diagnosis to... His voice cracked. I left the organization immediately. Spent every second I could with her. Watched her deteriorate. Held her hand when she died. And then I was alone with a 7-year-old daughter and no idea how to be a single parent. "But you figured it out," Isabel observed. "Lily is extraordinary, brave and smart and kind. That's because of you." "That's because of Maria. Everything good in Lily comes from her mother. I'm just trying not to screw it up too badly." "You're doing better than you think." They sat in comfortable silence for a while. Then Isabel asked quietly, "Do you ever think about... After Maria? About finding someone new?" "No," Vince said immediately. Then, more honestly, "Sometimes, but it feels like betrayal, like I'm trying to replace something irreplaceable." "Love isn't a limited resource," Isabel said. "Loving someone new doesn't diminish what you had. It just means you're capable of building something different. Something that honors what you had while acknowledging you're still alive and deserving of happiness." Vince looked at her in the dim cabin light. "You sound like you're speaking from experience." "No. I sound like someone who spent her entire life watching her father bury himself in work after my mother died. He loved her so much that when she was gone, he couldn't imagine loving anyone else. So he poured everything into the company, into me, into building an empire. But he's lonely, even surrounded by employees and wealth. I don't want that for him. Or for you. Is that why you never married? Watching your father isolate himself?" Isabel smiled sadly. "Partially. Mostly it's because when you're a billionaire heiress, you never know if someone wants you or wants access to your fortune. Every relationship feels transactional. Every smile feels calculated. It's exhausting, always wondering if affection is genuine or just very good acting. That sounds lonely." "It is. Which is why, as terrifying as this situation is, there's something almost refreshing about it. You're helping me because your daughter asked you to, and because it's the right thing to do. Not because of my bank account. Not because of what I can do for you. Just because someone needed help, and you couldn't walk away." "I'm a terrible person to put on a pedestal," Vince said. "I've done things I'm not proud of, hurt people, destroyed lives. But you stopped. You changed. That takes more strength than never doing wrong in the first place." Before Vince could respond, a soft knock interrupted them. Not Anton's aggressive pounding, something gentler, almost tentative. Vince moved silently to the door, positioned himself defensively. "Who is it?" "Room service," a female voice said. "Complimentary champagne for the newlyweds, courtesy of management." Vince and Isabel exchanged glances. They hadn't ordered anything, and nothing about this situation suggested genuine hospitality. "Leave it outside," Vince called back. "We're resting." "I really must insist," the voice said, now with a harder edge. Management requires confirmation of delivery. Please open the door. Not room service. One of Anton's people trying a different approach. Vince gestured for Isabel to wake Lily, quietly. They needed to be ready to move fast. He carefully removed the furniture barricade, cracked the door open with the security chain still engaged. A woman in train staff uniform stood in the corridor holding a champagne tray. Late 30s, professional demeanor, but her eyes were wrong. Too alert, too assessing. Not a server, an operator. "Your champagne, sir," she said, holding the tray forward. "We didn't order champagne. Complimentary for newlyweds. Please take it before the ice melts." She was pushing too hard. Vince's instincts screamed trap. "Leave it in the corridor. We'll get it in a moment. I'm afraid I need a signature." Vince slammed the door in her face, immediately re-engaging the barricade. "They're moving now," he said to Isabel. "Tonight. They're not waiting for Monaco." "What was that about?" "Drugged champagne, probably. Or an excuse to force entry. Either way, we're out of time." Lily was awake now, clutching her stuffed bear that had been in her backpack, eyes wide but not panicking. Maria's daughter, trained by necessity to handle crisis. "What do we do?" Isabel asked. "We get off this train. We're traveling at 200 kilometers per hour. Not forever. We're approaching the French-Italian border. The train slows for customs checkpoint, still moving, but slower, maybe 80 kilometers per hour. That's jumpable if we do it right." "That's suicide." "So is staying here." Vince was already checking the window, assessing angles. Anton knows we're witnesses. He knows Interpol will be waiting in Monaco. His only move is to eliminate us before we reach the station. Which means sometime in the next few hours, he's coming through that door with enough force that furniture won't stop him. Then we fight. He has 4 trained men with weapons. I have improvised barricades and my personality. Those aren't winning odds. Vince turned to face her. "I can maybe hold them off long enough for you and Lily to escape. That's the play." "No," Isabel said firmly. "We stick together. That's the new play." "Isabel!" "I said no. You stuck your neck out for me. I'm not abandoning you. Besides," she pulled out her phone. "I have something they don't. Access." "Access to what?" "To this train's systems." She was already typing rapidly, her genius-level intellect fully engaged. "My father's company built the security system for this entire train line. I have administrative credentials, legacy access from when we were testing. I can control locks, lighting, climate, even the emergency systems. Can you stop the train? Not without alerting the conductor and causing a massive investigation. But I can do something better. I can create chaos. Make them think something's wrong with the train systems. While they're distracted, we move. Move where? We're still trapped on a moving train." "The freight car," Lily said suddenly. Both adults turned to look at her. She shrugged. "What?" "I explored earlier while you were in the dining car. There's a freight section, 4 cars back. Less security. One of the crew members said they keep it at lower pressure or something because of the cargo. But there are emergency access hatches on the roof." "How do you know that?" I asked the crew guy. He thought I was cute and wanted to explain stuff. Adults always underestimate kids. Vince stared at his 9-year-old daughter, already thinking tactically, gathering intelligence, proving once again that she was far more capable than he gave her credit for. "Okay," he said. "New plan. Isabel triggers the security systems, lights, locks, whatever causes maximum confusion. We use the chaos to move through the train to the freight car. We access the roof through the emergency hatch. When the train slows for the border checkpoint, we jump." "That's still insane," Isabel pointed out. "You have a better idea?" She didn't. "Then we do this. Now. Before Anton makes his move." Isabel's fingers flew over her phone. "Give me 2 minutes. I need to program the sequence properly. Lights go out first, then emergency alarms. Then I'll remotely unlock doors to cause confusion. Security will think the whole system is failing." "Will they stop the train?" "Eventually, but by then we'll be gone." Vince quickly gathered their minimal belongings, Lily's backpack, his jacket with their documents, Isabel's phone. Everything else was expendable. When the lights go out, he instructed, we move fast. Lily, you stay between us. No matter what happens, you keep moving forward. If someone tries to stop us, you don't engage. You run, understand? Yes, sir. Isabel, you stay close to me. I'll handle any physical confrontation. Your job is to get Lily to safety if something happens to me. Nothing's happening to you, Isabel said firmly. We all get out of this together. One more thing, Vince said, checking his watch. When we jump as a unit. I go first to test the landing, then I catch both of you. It's going to hurt, probably badly, but it's survivable if we do it right. And if we don't do it right? Isabel asked. Then we die quickly instead of slowly. I'll take those odds. Isabel finished her programming. Ready? 30-second countdown once I hit execute. That's our window. Then hit it, Vince said, and pray we survive what comes next. She pressed the screen. The lights died first. Sudden, complete darkness throughout the train. Emergency lighting kicked in immediately, but it was dim, disorienting, transforming elegant corridors into something from a nightmare. Then the alarm started. Loud, jarring, the kind designed to wake everyone and trigger immediate evacuation protocols. Chaos erupted instantly. Passenger cabin doors opened. Confused, wealthy travelers stumbled into corridors in designer pajamas, demanding explanations. Train staff rushed past, trying to assess the malfunction. The careful social order of the luxury express dissolved into panic. Perfect. Vince grabbed Lily's hand. Isabel grabbed his other hand, and they plunged into the confusion. Moving through the train was like navigating a riot. Panicked passengers blocked corridors. Staff members shouted contradictory instructions in multiple languages. The emergency lighting cast everything in hellish red. Vince pushed through systematically, his body memory from years of criminal work taking over. How to move through crowds, how to seem purposeful enough that people moved aside, how to be invisible while in plain sight. They made it through the first car, then the second. Almost to the dining car when... There! Anton's voice cutting through the chaos. Stop them! Vince turned to see Anton and two of his men forcing through the crowd, weapons drawn but concealed under jackets. They couldn't shoot openly. Too many witnesses. But they were closing fast. Run! Vince shouted. They ran through the dining car. Elegant tables overturned in the chaos. Crystal shattered on the floor. Servers trying desperately to keep passengers calm. Through the kitchen where staff shouted at them in French. Into the third sleeping car where an elderly woman demanded to know what was happening. System malfunction, Vince gasped as they ran past. Everyone stay calm. Behind them, Anton was gaining. Professional, systematic, relentless. They burst through to the freight car, exactly as Lily had described, dimly lit, filled with secured cargo containers, a completely different world from the luxury passenger sections. The hatch, Lily pointed upward. There! An emergency access ladder led to a roof panel. Vince boosted Lily up first, then Isabel. As he grabbed the ladder himself, Anton appeared in the doorway. Vincent Cross! Anton's voice was cold steel. There's nowhere to go. The train is moving. You jump, you die. Maybe, Vince said, climbing. But at least we die free. Better than whatever you had planned. He reached the hatch, threw it open. Wind and noise poured in. The train was moving at full speed now, the border checkpoint still miles away. This was going to be much worse than he'd planned. But staying meant death. Jumping meant maybe death. He'd take maybe. Vince climbed onto the roof, pulling Isabel and Lily up behind him. The wind was savage, trying to tear them off immediately. The train's roof was metal, slightly curved, offering almost no purchase. Below, through the open hatch, Anton was climbing. We have to jump now! Vince shouted over the wind. We're going too fast, Isabel screamed back. I know, but we're out of options. He looked ahead. Trees on both sides of the track. Open field to the right. Forested hillside to the left. All of it rushing past at suicidal speed. Then he saw it. A water tower beside the tracks, probably 200 meters ahead. And next to it, a slight curve in the tracks where the train would slow fractionally. It was the best chance they'd get. "There," he pointed. "When we reach that tower, we jump toward the field. Land rolling, protect your head. Lily, you jump into my arms, I'll take the impact." "Dad, no!" "Not a discussion." Anton's head appeared through the hatch, weapon now openly visible. "Jump!" Vince roared. He grabbed Lily, held her tight against his chest, and leaped from the moving train. The world became chaos. Wind and spinning and ground rushing up impossibly fast. Vince twisted in midair, took the impact with his shoulder and back, rolling, protecting Lily with his body, pain exploding through him as they hit the ground at 80 kilometers per hour. They rolled, and rolled, and rolled, grass and dirt and sky tumbling together until finally, mercifully, they stopped. Vince lay gasping. Inventory of damage. Ribs definitely cracked, shoulder possibly dislocated, road rash everywhere, head ringing like a bell. But alive. And Lily. "Dad?" Her voice scared but present. "Dad, are you okay?" "Fine," he lied through gritted teeth. "You hurt?" "My ankle, but I'm okay. Where's Miss Isabel?" Vince forced himself to sit up, scanning the field. 50 meters away, Isabel lay in the grass, unmoving. "No," he breathed, pushing to his feet despite the screaming pain. "No, no, no!" He ran, limped, stumbled to her, Lily following. The train was already disappearing around the curve, Anton left behind but not for long. He'd stop the train, come back, hunt them down. Vince reached Isabel, dropped to his knees beside her. "Isabel, can you hear me?" She groaned, eyes fluttering open. Blood streaked her face from a head wound, but her eyes focused. "Did we make it?" "We're alive. Can you move?" She tried, winced. "Ankle's broken, I think, or sprained badly. Everything hurts." "Welcome to jumping from moving trains," Vince said, helping her sit up. "We need to move. Anton will come back for us." "I can barely walk." "Then I'll carry you. But we need to get away from the tracks, now." He looked around, getting his bearings. They'd landed somewhere in the French countryside. Rolling hills, scattered farms, forest to the west. The border checkpoint was maybe 5 kilometers back the way the train had come. Civilization was that direction, but so was Anton. Forest meant hiding, buying time, staying alive long enough to figure out the next move. "Lily," he said to his daughter, "can you walk?" "Yes, my ankle's okay." "Then help me get Miss Isabel up. We're going into those trees, fast as we can." Together, they got Isabel to her feet. She bit back a scream as weight went on her injured ankle. Vince wrapped her arm around his shoulders, took most of her weight, and they started moving. Behind them, in the distance, he heard the train's emergency brakes. Anton was coming. They had minutes, maybe less. "Stay with me," Vince said to both women. "We're not dying in a French field. Not after everything we've survived. Move." They moved. The forest was dense, old growth, the kind that had existed before roads and trains and modern France. Thick underbrush made progress brutal, especially with Isabel unable to put weight on her injured ankle. Vince half-carried, half-dragged her while Lily led the way, her small size advantage letting her navigate through places adults couldn't fit. They'd been moving for maybe 20 minutes when Vince called a stop. They'd put maybe a kilometer between themselves and the tracks. Not nearly enough, but Isabel was at her limit, and Vince's own injuries were screaming. They collapsed in a small clearing, all three gasping for breath. "I can hear them," Lily said quietly, her young ears better than the adults. "Dogs. They have dogs." Vince listened. Sure enough, distant barking carried through the trees. Anton had called in reinforcements, probably local criminals, people who owed favors, the kind of network a professional operator would have established. "We can't outrun dogs," Isabel said, stating the obvious. "No," Vince agreed, "but we can outsmart them." "How?" He was already scanning their surroundings, tactical mind working. The forest floor was thick with pine needles. A small stream ran through the clearing. Rock outcroppings to the north. "Water mask scent," he said. "We follow the stream, walk in it, even though it's cold and miserable. Dogs will lose our trail at the water, buy us time. Time for what? Isabel asked. We're in the middle of nowhere. No phones. Mine died in the jump. No weapons. No plan. We're alive, Vince countered. That's a plan. Staying alive until we can get to civilization, contact your father, bring in actual authorities. Every hour we survive is an hour closer to rescue. Dad's good at this, Lily said to Isabel with complete confidence. The survival thing. He taught me all the camping stuff. We'll be okay. Your optimism is terrifying, Isabel muttered, but she was smiling slightly despite everything. They moved into the stream, icy mountain water that soaked through their clothes immediately, numbing their feet, making every step agony. But it would work. Dogs couldn't track through running water. They followed the stream for what felt like hours, but was probably 30 minutes. The barking gradually faded behind them, confirming the tactic worked. Eventually, the stream led to a small waterfall, maybe 3 meters high, flowing into a pool. Beyond it, Vince could see lights. Civilization. A small farmhouse, isolated, probably a kilometer from the nearest neighbor. There, he said. That's our target. We approach carefully, make sure no one's there, find a phone. And if someone is there? Isabel asked. Then we ask nicely for help, and hope they're not friends with Anton. They climbed around the waterfall, Isabel biting back screams with her injured ankle, Vince supporting most of her weight despite his own cracked ribs. Lily scouted ahead, small and quiet, practically invisible in the forest. The farmhouse was old but maintained, with a barn, a truck in the driveway, lights on inside suggesting occupants. Smoke rose from the chimney. Someone was home and had a fire going. Wait here, Vince said to the women, positioning them in tree cover. I'll approach alone, less threatening that way. Dad, be careful, Lily said. Always, sweetheart. He walked toward the farmhouse slowly, hands visible, making himself as non-threatening as possible despite looking like he'd survived a train crash, which he had. An old man appeared on the porch before Vince made it halfway. 70s, maybe, weathered by outdoor work, holding a hunting rifle with comfortable familiarity. C'est assez, the man said in French. That's far enough. Je m'excuse de vous déranger, Vince replied, his French rusty but functional. I apologize for disturbing you. We need help. My wife and daughter. We had an accident. The old man studied him with sharp eyes that had seen plenty in 7 decades. An accident. In the middle of the forest. At night. We jumped from a train. Men were trying to kidnap my wife. Please, we just need to use your phone. Call the police. The police? The old man lowered the rifle slightly but didn't put it down. Or perhaps you're the criminals and you're lying to an old man. I'm not lying. Look. Vince pulled out his soggy wallet, showed his identification. Vincent Cross, from Marseille. My daughter is 9 years old. She's terrified. My wife is injured. We just need help. Something in Vince's voice must have convinced him because the old man nodded slowly. Your wife and daughter. Where are they? Vince gestured toward the trees. Lily and Isabel emerged, both looking like drowned rats, Isabel limping badly. The old man's expression softened seeing them, particularly seeing Lily, bedraggled and scared but trying to be brave. Come inside, he said, switching to English. I am Gerard. This is my home. You will be safe here. Gerard's farmhouse was exactly what Vince had hoped for. Isolated, comfortable, with a working phone and a first aid kit that suggested someone who'd handled injuries before. The old man's wife Marie appeared from the kitchen, similarly aged, grandmother type, who immediately took charge of Isabel and Lily, getting them into dry clothes and treating their injuries with practiced efficiency. Gerard sat Vince down, examined his obvious wounds. You were military. It wasn't a question. Yes, Vince admitted. Long time ago. I can tell by how you hold yourself. Even injured, you position yourself between the door and your family. Old habits. Gerard started wrapping Vince's ribs with bandages. What really happened? Vince explained, All of it. The kidnapping, the train, Anton, the jump. Gerard listened without interrupting, his expression growing darker. Rousseau, he said when Vince finished. Anton Rousseau. I know this name. You do? I was police. Before I retired. 30 years I worked organized crime in Lyon. Rousseau was on our radar. Corporate security who wasn't too careful about legality. Worked for whoever paid. We could never prove anything, but we knew. Dangerous man. He's hunting us. Right now. With dogs and men. We need to call the police, get protection before he finds this place. Gerard nodded, picked up his landline phone, then froze. What? Vince asked. The line is dead. It was working an hour ago. They both understood immediately. Anton had cut communications to the area, which meant he knew generally where they were, was systematically searching, cutting off escape routes. How far to the nearest town? Vince asked. 5 kilometers. My truck could get you there in 10 minutes. Can we take it? Of course, but... Gerard hesitated. If Rousseau has people watching the roads, they'll see the truck immediately. You'd be trapped on a single road with nowhere to run. Then we go on foot, through the forest. With an injured woman and a child, at night, through terrain you don't know, you'll get lost, or hurt, or both. We don't have a choice, Vince said grimly. Staying here puts you and Marie in danger. Anton won't hesitate to kill witnesses. Gerard studied him for a long moment. Then, there's another option, the old smuggler's routes. Smuggler's routes? During the war, World War II, the resistance used tunnels and hidden paths to move people and supplies. This whole region is full of them. Most collapsed or forgotten, but there's one about 2 kilometers from here. Runs under the valley, emerges near the border checkpoint. If you can find it, you can reach Italian customs without ever using roads. Will it fit 3 people? If they don't mind tight spaces and old stone, it's not comfortable, but it's hidden, and it leads to safety. Can you show us where? Gerard was already moving, pulling out an old map, hand-drawn, decades old, showing the secret routes his resistance grandfather had used 75 years ago. Here, he pointed. 2 kilometers north. Look for the old mill foundation, half buried by landslide. The entrance is in the eastern wall, hidden by rocks. You'll need a light. He provided flashlights, food, water, a better first aid kit. Marie wrapped Isabel's ankle properly, gave her painkillers that would let her walk despite the injury. You're risking a lot for strangers, Vince said. You're protecting a child and exposing criminals, Gerard replied. That's not strangers. That's the right side. Now go, quickly. My instincts say Rousseau's men are close. As if on cue, dogs barked in the distance, closer than before. They fled into the night, following Gerard's directions, 3 fugitives racing toward a tunnel that might or might not still exist. Behind them, lights appeared through the trees, vehicles, searchers, Anton's network closing in. The old mill was exactly where Gerard said it would be. Ancient stone foundation almost completely buried, looking like natural hillside unless you knew what to look for. Vince found the eastern wall, started moving rocks aside frantically. There! Lily spotted it, a gap in the stone leading down into darkness. The barking was very close now. Inside! Vince ordered. Now! They squeezed through the opening just as searchlights swept across the mill ruins. Vince pulled loose rocks back into place behind them, sealing them inside the ancient smuggler's tunnel. Darkness. Complete, absolute darkness broken only by their flashlight, and somewhere above them Anton Rousseau's voice. Search everything. They were here. They're close. Find them. Vince, Isabel, and Lily huddled in the tunnel entrance, barely breathing, waiting for discovery. The footsteps passed overhead, moved away, gradually faded. They'd made it, for now. Come on, Vince whispered. Let's see where this tunnel leads. They descended into the earth, following a path carved 80 years ago by people fighting for freedom. History had a funny way of repeating itself. The smuggler's tunnel was everything Gerard had warned, cramped, ancient, smelling of damp earth and decades of abandonment. Water dripped from stone ceiling that had been hewn by hand during a war when freedom meant risking everything. Vince led with the flashlight, Isabel limping behind him, Lily bringing up the rear. The tunnel descended steeply at first, then leveled out maybe 10 meters underground. Old wooden supports, some rotted, some miraculously intact, shored up sections where the stone looked unstable. "How far does this go?" Isabel asked, her voice echoing strangely in the confined space. "Gerard said 2 kilometers, Vince replied. "Should take us maybe 40 minutes at this pace." "Assuming it doesn't collapse and bury us alive," Isabel muttered. "That would solve Anton's problem pretty efficiently," Vince acknowledged. "But let's aim for not dying underground." They walked in silence for a while, the only sounds their footsteps and labored breathing. Lily stayed close to Vince, one hand gripping his jacket, dealing with her fear through proximity to safety. "Dad," she said quietly after maybe 20 minutes, "when we get out of this, if we get out of this, can we go home? Back to Marcel? Back to normal?" "You want normal?" Vince asked gently. "I want you to stop looking so sad all the time. You've been sad since Mom died. But tonight, even though we're being chased by bad guys and everything is scary, you seem more alive than you have in 2 years. Does that make sense?" It did, more than Vince wanted to admit. "I think," Isabel said from behind them, "your daughter is saying you need purpose beyond just survival. You were built to protect people, Vincent. These past 2 years you've been trying to be something you're not. Passive, withdrawn, small. But tonight, you're who you actually are. It suits you." "What suits me is keeping my daughter out of danger," Vince said, "not dragging her through tunnels while kidnappers hunt us." "But you didn't drag me," Lily pointed out. "I made you help Miss Isabel. This is my fault, really." "This is Anton Rousseau's fault," Vince corrected firmly. "And when we get out of here, I'm making sure he pays for every second of terror he's put us through." They walked in silence again, until the tunnel began to ascend. Vince's flashlight caught something ahead, a wooden ladder, mostly rotted, leading upward to what looked like a stone hatch. "That's it," he said. "That's our exit." They approached carefully. The ladder groaned under Vince's weight but held, barely. He pushed against the stone hatch, muscles screaming from his injuries, but it wouldn't budge. "It's sealed," he gasped, "or blocked from above. Let me try something," Isabel said. She pulled out her phone. Miraculously, it had survived the jump, though the screen was cracked and it was nearly dead. "If we're close to the border checkpoint, there might be cell signal." She held the phone up near the hatch. One bar flickered to life. "Yes!" She immediately dialed, hands shaking. "Papa! Papa, can you hear me?" Static. Then Philippe Laurent's frantic voice. "Isabel! My God, where are you? Interpol said you never arrived in Monaco. They found the train stopped. Signs of a struggle. What happened?" "We jumped," Isabel said quickly. "From the moving train. We're in a tunnel, old smuggler route, near the French-Italian border. Papa, I need you to contact Italian customs. Tell them to expect us at..." She looked at Vince. "Checkpoint 7, Vince said, reading the faded number painted on the tunnel wall. "French-Italian border, old customs station." "Checkpoint 7, Isabel repeated. "Tell them we're coming from underground. We need immediate protection, and Anton Rousseau is hunting us with armed men. Papa, he's going to kill us if you don't..." The phone died. Battery gone. They stood in silence, hoping the call had lasted long enough, hoping Philippe had heard, hoping help was coming. "Only one way to find out," Vince said. He braced himself against the hatch, pushed with everything he had. Something shifted, rocks or debris from above. He pushed harder. The hatch moved incrementally, then suddenly gave way, flooding the tunnel with moonlight and fresh air. They emerged into a small stone structure, the old customs house, abandoned decades ago when the modern checkpoint was built half a kilometer away. Through broken windows, Vince could see lights in the distance. The active checkpoint. Safety. "Maybe. Come on," he said, helping Isabel out, then lifting Lily. "We're almost there." They crossed the distance between the old and new checkpoints on foot, 3 figures stumbling out of the night toward the harsh fluorescent lights of officialdom. Guards spotted them immediately, weapons raised. "Stop, identify yourselves!" Vince raised his hands, made sure Lily and Isabel did the same. "Vincent Cross. I'm traveling with Isabelle Laurent, daughter of Philippe Laurent. We need immediate asylum and protection." The guards exchanged rapid-fire Italian, radios crackling. Then one of them said in accented English, "Mr. Laurent called. He said you would come. You're expected. Please, come quickly. There are men approaching from the French side. Armed men." They rushed into the checkpoint building just as vehicles screeched to a halt on the French side of the border. Anton and his team, too late, on the wrong side of international law. Anton stood at the borderline, staring across at them with pure hatred. He couldn't cross. Not without triggering an international incident. Not with Italian authorities already on alert. Vince met his gaze through the checkpoint window, held it for a long moment. "We survived, you lost." Anton's expression promised this wasn't over. Then he was gone, vehicles speeding away into French night. "It's over," Isabel breathed. "We actually made it, we're safe." "Not quite yet," Vince said, watching Italian police arriving, seeing the complicated hours of debriefing ahead. "But we're alive. That's what matters." Lily squeezed his hand. "We did it, Dad, just like you promised." "We did it together," Vince corrected, pulling both Isabel and Lily close. "All of us." The next 72 hours were a blur of police statements, medical treatment, and international law enforcement coordination. Interpol, Italian police, French authorities. Everyone wanted to interview the 3 people who'd exposed a kidnapping ring operating under the guise of corporate security. Anton Rousseau was arrested at the French-Swiss border trying to flee. His 3 associates were captured within 24 hours. All 4 were looking at decades in prison for kidnapping, attempted murder, and a dozen other charges. The real revelation came during interrogation. Anton had been hired not by a rival company, but by Isabelle's uncle, her father's business partner Bernard Laurent, the same Bernard who'd been pushing Philippe to retire, who'd been suggesting Isabelle wasn't ready to lead the company, who stood to inherit control if both Philippe and Isabelle were gone. Bernard was arrested at his home in Geneva, still trying to transfer assets offshore. The evidence was overwhelming. Financial records, encrypted communications, testimony from Anton's team who turned on him immediately to reduce their own sentences. Philippe Laurent held a press conference, publicly thanking Vincent Cross, a former security professional, and his daughter Lily, for their extraordinary courage in protecting my daughter at great personal risk. He didn't mention Vince's criminal past. Some things didn't need to be public. Vince, Isabel, and Lily watched the press conference from a private hospital room in Turin, where they were recovering from their injuries. Vince's ribs would take weeks to heal. Isabel's ankle was in a cast. Lily had escaped with bruises and mild shock, but child psychologist visits were recommended. "Your father called you his daughter," Vince observed, watching the screen. "Not once did he mention we're supposedly married." Isabel smiled slightly. "I told him the truth. Once we were safe, there was no point maintaining the lie. He was surprisingly understanding. Said any man who jumped from a moving train to protect his daughter was acceptable regardless of criminal history." "That's generous. He also offered you a job." Vince turned to look at her. "What?" "Head of security for Laurent Industries. Legitimate work, excellent salary, full benefits." He said, and I quote, "A man with your skills and moral compass is rare. I'd be a fool not to hire you." "I'm not qualified to run security for a multinational corporation." "You're qualified to protect people," Isabel corrected. "Which is what the job actually is. The administrative part, we can teach. The instincts that kept us alive, those can't be taught. You either have them or you don't. You have them." Vince looked at Lily, who was pretending to be absorbed in her book, but clearly listening intently. "What do you think, sweetheart? Should we move to Paris? Start a new life?" Lily looked up, expression serious. Will Miss Isabel be there? I live there, yes, Isabel said. Then yes, we should move. Lily returned to her book as if the matter was settled. She's very subtle, Isabel said dryly. She's Maria's daughter. Subtle was never their strength. Vince was quiet for a moment. Can I ask you something? Anything. What happens now? With us? He gestured between them. We spent 3 days in crisis, created a fake marriage, survived impossible odds together. But none of that was real life. It was survival. When we go back to normal, you in your world, me in mine, does any of this matter? Isabel reached across the space between their hospital beds, took his hand. I think it matters more than anything. Because the person you were during those 3 days, that's who you actually are, Vincent. Not the grieving widower hiding in Marseille. Not the ex-criminal trying to disappear. The man who risks everything to protect people. That's the real you. And I like the real you very much. I come with substantial baggage. A daughter who needs a lot of attention. Trauma. A criminal record. Debt. I come with a fortune that means people always question my motives. A family business that nearly got me killed. Trust issues. And an uncle who tried to have me murdered. I think we're equally damaged. Maybe we damage well together. That's possibly the worst basis for a relationship I've ever heard. But accurate, Isabel pointed out. So what do you say, Vincent Cross? Want to take this fake marriage and see if we can make something real out of it? I think, Vince said slowly. I'd like that, but slowly. Really slowly. Lily needs time to adjust. I need time to not feel like I'm betraying Maria's memory. And you need time to heal from being kidnapped. Slow is good, Isabel agreed. I can do slow. Liar, Lily said from her book. You're a billionaire CEO. You don't do anything slowly. How much of this conversation were you listening to? Vince asked. All of it, obviously. Lily finally put down her book. For what it's worth, I think Mom would like Miss Isabel. She always said you needed someone smart enough to challenge you. Someone brave enough to keep up with you. Someone kind enough to love broken things. That's Miss Isabel. When did you become a relationship counselor? Vince asked. Someone has to be, since you're completely clueless about emotions. Lily stood, walked over to Isabel's bed. Miss Isabel, can I ask you something? Of course. If you and my dad end up together, really together, would you want to be my mom? Or just my dad's girlfriend? Because there's a difference. Isabel's eyes filled with tears. Lily, I could never replace your mother. No one could. She was extraordinary, and she loved you more than anything. But if you'd let me, I'd like to try being something different. Not a replacement mom. Just someone who's there. Someone who cares. Someone who'll show up for school plays and help with homework and make really bad attempts at cooking dinner. You can't cook? I'm terrible at it. Absolutely hopeless. That's okay. Dad's pretty good at cooking. You can do other stuff. Like what? Like being rich and smart and teaching me how to be brave like you. Isabel pulled Lily into a hug, and Vince watched these two people who'd both lost so much find something in each other. Maybe they really could make this work. Maybe broken things really did fit together in ways that made sense. Maybe Maria would approve. Paris in autumn was everything the postcards promised. Golden leaves along the Seine, cafe culture thriving despite tourist season ending, art and history, and life pulsing through ancient streets. Vince stood in the office that was apparently now his, 15th floor of Laurent Industries headquarters, glass walls overlooking the city, expensive desk with dual monitors showing security feeds from company facilities worldwide. Head of security, who would have thought? The past 3 months had been transformation. Moving to Paris with Lily, getting her enrolled in an international school where she was thriving despite initial language barriers. Learning the legitimate security industry, so different from criminal enforcement, yet utilizing many of the same skills. Building relationships with people who didn't know or care about his past, who judged him only on competence, and Isabel. They'd taken it slow as promised. Dinners, long walks, Conversations that stretched into early morning, getting to know each other outside of crisis, discovering they still liked each other when no one was trying to kill them. She'd been right about one thing: he needed purpose beyond just survival. This job, protecting the company and its people, gave him that. He was good at it, maybe even great at it. Threats he'd learned to navigate in criminal world translated perfectly to corporate security. "Dad!" Lily burst into his office, backpack bouncing. "Miss Isabel said we're going to her father's estate this weekend. They have horses. Can I learn to ride?" "We'll see," Vince said automatically. Then, registering what she'd said, "Wait, her father's estate? Like, meeting the family?" "We already met him. On video, when we were pretending to be married, remember?" "That was crisis. This is different. This is formal. Meeting the family for real." "You're nervous," Lily observed with delight. "You fought kidnappers and jumped from a train, but meeting Miss Isabel's dad makes you nervous." "Fathers of women I'm dating are terrifying," Vince admitted. "Especially billionaire fathers who could destroy my life with one phone call." "He likes you. He offered you a job." "That's business. This is personal." Isabel appeared in the doorway, elegant in business attire, though Vince noticed she walked with slight hesitation. Her ankle, healed but sometimes still bothering her. War wounds they all carried. "Talking about me?" she asked. "Dad's nervous about meeting your father," Lily announced. "He's met my father." "That's what I said." "It's different," Vince insisted. "That was crisis mode. This is meet the family mode. There are expectations. My father's expectation is that you show up, be yourself, and don't let my uncle's betrayal make you think all families are disasters." Isabel walked to him, straightened his tie unnecessarily. "He genuinely likes you, Vincent. He appreciates that you protected his daughter when his own security failed. Also, he's done extensive background checks and knows you've been completely legitimate since leaving Marseille. You passed his inspection." "There was an inspection?" "Of course there was an inspection. He's a billionaire father. Inspecting potential suitors is practically mandatory." "I'm a potential suitor now?" "You've been a potential suitor since you pretended to be my husband. We're just making it official." She kissed him lightly. "Relax. It's just a weekend in the country. Horses, wine, family dinner. Nothing terrifying." "Everything about that sounds terrifying." "Good," Isabel said cheerfully. "Keeps you on your toes. Now, I need you to review the security assessment for our Berlin facility. Lily, do you have homework?" "Did it during lunch?" "Then help your father with the Berlin assessment. He values your tactical perspective." "I do," Vince confirmed. Lily had been sitting in on security briefings occasionally, with appropriate content filtering, and her observations were frequently insightful. Maria's daughter, seeing patterns others missed. Isabel left for her own meetings. Lily settled into the chair across from Vince's desk, pulled up the Berlin facility schematics on her tablet. "Dad," she said after a moment, "are you happy?" The question caught him off guard. "What?" "Are you happy? Here, in Paris, with this job, with Miss Isabel. Are you happy?" Vince considered the question seriously. 3 months ago, he'd been surviving, getting through days, focused only on keeping Lily safe and fed and stable. Happiness hadn't been on his radar. It felt like a luxury he didn't deserve, a betrayal of Maria's memory. But now, working a job that mattered, living in a city full of life, building something with a woman who challenged and inspired him, watching Lily thrive in ways she hadn't since her mother died. "Yeah," he said, surprised by the truth of it. "I think I am happy." "Is that okay?" "Of course it's okay. Mom would want you to be happy. She told me before she died. Said I needed to make sure you didn't spend the rest of your life being sad. She made me promise." Vince's throat tightened. "You never told me that." "You weren't ready to hear it. Now you are." Lily returned her attention to the security assessment. "So, yeah, be happy. You've earned it. Also, Miss Isabel is good for you. She makes you laugh. Mom would like her. You keep saying that, because it's true. Now look at this. The Berlin facility has a blind spot in the east loading dock. See? We should recommend additional cameras there. The conversation shifted to security protocols, but Vince's mind lingered on Lily's words. Mom would want you to be happy. Maybe it was time to believe that. Maybe it was time to let himself feel joy without guilt. Maybe Maria's final gift to him was permission to live again. The Laurent family estate was everything Vince had feared. Sprawling mansion, manicured grounds, the kind of old money wealth that made his modest background feel impossibly distant. Lily was in heaven, already making friends with the estate's horses under the supervision of a very patient stable master. Philippe Laurent greeted them personally, embracing his daughter, then turning to Vince with an expression that was harder to read. Mr. Cross, welcome to my home. Thank you for having us, sir. And please, call me Vincent. Vincent. Philippe studied him openly. You know, I had you investigated very thoroughly. Former member of the Marseille syndicate. Enforcer. 5 years in prison for racketeering. Left the organization when your wife became ill. Completely clean for 2 years before you met my daughter. All accurate, Vince said, refusing to be defensive. I'm not proud of my past, but I'm not running from it either. Good. Because men who run from their past eventually get caught by it. Philippe gestured toward the gardens. Walk with me. We should talk. Isabelle started to follow, but her father shook his head. Just us, chérie. Man talk. They walked through elaborate gardens. Philippe's hands clasped behind his back, clearly weighing words carefully. My daughter has had many suitors, he finally said. Men attracted to her beauty, her intelligence, her fortune. Some genuinely cared for her. Most saw opportunity. I've become quite good at distinguishing which is which. I can imagine. You're different. The background checks show no financial instability, no debts, no pattern of targeting wealthy women. In fact, you actively avoided relationships for 2 years after your wife's death. You weren't looking for Isabelle. You simply acted when someone needed help. She asked for help. I couldn't walk away. Most men would have. Getting involved with kidnappers is dangerous, especially with your own child present. But you did it anyway. That tells me something about your character. They reached a small pond, ducks floating peacefully. Philippe was quiet for a long moment. Bernard, my brother, was family, he said finally. Blood. I trusted him completely, and he tried to have my daughter killed for money and power. Meanwhile, you, a stranger, a former criminal, risked everything to save her. It makes me question a lot of assumptions about trust and loyalty. Family isn't always blood, Vince said. Sometimes it's just people who show up when it matters. Exactly. Philippe turned to face him directly. Which brings me to my point. Isabelle cares for you deeply. Perhaps even loves you, though she hasn't said it yet. She's cautious with her heart. Your daughter clearly adores her. And from what I've seen, you're good for each other. You ground her. She inspires you. It's complimentary. But, Vince sensed there was a but coming. But if you hurt her, intentionally or through carelessness, I will make the remaining years of your life extremely unpleasant. I'm not threatening violence. I'm simply stating that I have resources you cannot imagine, and I will use every single one of them to ensure you regret causing my daughter pain. Are we clear? Crystal clear, Vince said. But for what it's worth, I have no intention of hurting her. I care about Isabelle. A lot. Maybe even love. Though, like her, I'm cautious about saying it. My wife's death broke something in me. Isabelle is helping me put it back together. I'm not walking away from that. Philippe studied him for another long moment. Then, surprisingly, he smiled. Good answer. Welcome to the family, Vincent. Officially. He extended his hand. Vince shook it, feeling like he'd just passed the most important test of his life. They returned to the main house where Isabelle was waiting on the terrace, trying to look casual but clearly nervous about what her father and boyfriend were discussing. Well, she asked as they approached. We have reached an understanding, Philippe said. Vincent is acceptable. Lily is delightful. You may proceed with whatever this relationship is becoming." "Oh, how generous," Isabel said dryly. "Permission to live my own life." "I'm your father. Interfering is my job." Philippe kissed her forehead. "But genuinely, ma chérie, I approve. He's good for you. Don't let this one get away." He left them alone on the terrace, the French countryside stretching golden in the afternoon sun. "So," Isabel said, "you passed my father's inspection." "Apparently. Though he threatened me quite creatively if I hurt you." "That's just affection in my family. Very French." "Your family is terrifying," says the man who fought kidnappers on a moving train. They stood close, comfortable in the silence. In the distance, Lily's laugh echoed from the stables. "She's happy," Isabel observed. "Really happy. I haven't seen a child that joyful in, maybe ever. She likes you. A lot. Fair warning, she's already picked out what dress she wants to wear to our wedding." "Our what?" "Wedding. Hypothetical wedding. Far future wedding. She's apparently decided it's inevitable." "Smart girl." Isabel turned to face him. "Is it inevitable?" "I don't know," Vince said honestly. "I know I care about you. I know these past 3 months have been the best I've had since Maria died. I know Lily needs stability, and you provide it. I know I think about you constantly, and miss you when you're not around. Is that love? Or is it just trauma bonding and gratitude?" "I don't know either," Isabel admitted. "I've never felt this before. Never trusted someone enough to let them see me without the armor. Never wanted to build a life with someone. But with you, I want all of that. I want mornings together and arguments about nothing and your daughter's school plays. I want the boring, normal parts of life." "The boring, normal parts," Vince repeated, "with occasional international kidnapping crises. Obviously, wouldn't be us without some danger." He pulled her close, kissed her properly, not the desperate kisses of crisis, but something slower, deeper, full of possibility. "Okay," he said. "Let's try. Not marriage tomorrow, but building towards something. Seeing if this works in real life without the adrenaline." "I can work with that." "Good. Because I think I'm falling in love with you, Isabelle Laurent, and it's terrifying. I think I'm falling in love with you too, Vincent Cross, and it's the best thing that's ever terrified me." They stood together, watching the sun set over the Laurent estate. Two broken people who'd somehow found each other in the worst possible circumstances and were building something beautiful from the pieces. In the stables, Lily was explaining to the horses how her dad and Miss Isabel were definitely going to get married, even though they were both too stubborn to admit it yet. And somewhere in heaven, Maria Cross was smiling, knowing her husband had finally found happiness again, not a replacement for what they'd had, just something new and different and equally valuable, a second chance at life, at love, at family. And Vincent Cross, former criminal turned security chief, single father turned potential stepfather, survivor turned thriving. He was ready to take it, the story that began with a desperate whisper on a luxury train. "Help, they kidnapped me," had transformed into something neither Vincent Cross nor Isabelle Laurent could have predicted. A fake marriage became a real relationship. A crisis became a foundation. 3 strangers became a family. Anton Rousseau and Bernard Laurent were serving 30-year sentences in French prisons. The kidnapping ring was dismantled, with 17 additional arrests across Europe. Isabelle's testimony led to reforms in corporate security protocols worldwide. Vincent Cross, once a criminal, now trained security professionals on crisis response and threat assessment. His past became an asset rather than a liability, someone who understood how criminals think because he'd once been one. Lily Cross thrived in Paris, fluent in French within 6 months, already talking about studying international law to help people like Dad and Miss Isabel did. And Isabelle Laurent, once isolated by wealth and paranoia, found something she'd never had: genuine connection. A partner who valued her mind as much as her fortune. A child who saw her as family rather than a walking bank account. Purpose beyond corporate profits. 18 months after that fateful train ride, Vincent proposed, properly this time, with a ring and a plan, and Lily's enthusiastic approval. They married in a small ceremony in Corsica, the same place their fake marriage had supposedly occurred. Philippe walked his daughter down the aisle. Lily was flower girl, taking her role very seriously. The wedding invitation read, "Vincent Cross and Isabelle Laurent invite you to celebrate their marriage. This time it's real." Gerard and Marie, the farmers who'd sheltered them, attended as honored guests. The old man gave a toast about resistance routes and modern-day heroes. They honeymooned nowhere special, just a week in Marseille, showing Isabelle the city where Vincent had lived his complicated past, visiting Maria's grave together, honoring what came before while building what came next. And they lived, not happily ever after, because life is never that simple, but fully, messily, authentically, with arguments about nothing and laughter about everything and a daughter who never let them forget she was the reason they met. Because Lily Cross, 9 years old on a train, had looked at a scared woman and said, "We should help her." And from that simple act of compassion, everything changed. A family was born. A love story was written. And Vincent Cross learned the most important lesson of all. Sometimes the best things in life start with the worst circumstances. You just have to be brave enough to say yes when someone whispers, "Help."